Welcome, my boys and girls. I hope you're all doing good, having a great day. It has been about almost 1 year that we have not done any updated tier list for the 2-star legendary gems. And so today I will be ranking every single 2-star gem inside of Diablo Immortal according to my own personal opinion. You can share your opinion. How would you guys rate these gems differently? But today I will be sharing my personal opinion here, ranking all 28 2-star legendary gems in Diablo Immortal. We're gonna start with, I believe we have Power and Command. Power and Command alternate stat every 9 seconds. Power increase your primary attack damage, and then it is scale damage. So it's always alternate between these two buffs. And so let's go start ranking these gems. Powering command for classes that can take a benefit from primary and the skill. The gem is going to be pretty good, at least in PvE. PvP will be another thing. It can also cure or cancel out one of the debuffs. So there is a chance for that. But the powering command, I would say it is going to be A for classes that utilize a lot of primary and uses the skills as well, like Demon Hunter. But for other classes that cannot do that, for those it might not be that great. But if you can use it, the primary and the skill at the same time, for a single target, the gem is going to be pretty decent. Moving forward, it is none other than the follower button. Increase all damage you deal by 1% for each summon you control up to a maximum of 6 person. This gem is basically good for classes like Necromancer that can control a lot of summons. And so for a Necromancer, I would say the gem is going to be somewhat decent, but not that great. And moving forward, we have none other than the Hungerer. So the gem isn't that great. Heal, instantly heal 40% of your base damage plus 568, which isn't much at all nowadays. When we see a total life that we have, and when you defeat an enemy, cannot occur more often than every 20 seconds. Increase your attack speed by 4 a person for 3 seconds. The gem isn't that great, and so we're gonna put the gem, at least in my opinion, goes into C at best. You know what? I'm just gonna put the gem in the D. I don't think is that great. Moving forward, we have the Bloody Reach. This gem is still somewhat really decent if you can utilize the range. Increase all damage you deal by 2% for every 2 yard between you and the enemy. Hit up to a maximum of 8% at 8 yard. Your attack have a 0.3% chance to decrease the movement speed by 35%. So a decent gem for range classes. Could be for PvP or could be for PvE. And so I will be ranking the gem. If you can utilize it at max, then the gem is going to be A. But if you cannot utilize the gem at is the best, then it drops. But we're gonna look at, you can if you using the gem, that would mean you can utilize the gem at its max capacity. And moving forward, we have the Battleguard. So if we go take a look at the Battleguard here, decrease all damage you take by 8% from enemies within 3 yard. This is everything, primary skill, summons, everything in the 3 yard. You will take less damage. You move unhinged through enemies while your life is below 15%. That isn't that strong. If you are at 15%, it would mean you will be trying to heal up. And the Battleguard, at least in my opinion, is going to be B at best. You can try and come with a tanky build, like building up every single gem with some defensive capability. Then this gem can be somewhat better, but on its own, B is what I will be giving the Battle God. And moving forward, we have the Unity Crystal. You and all party members with 6 yard take a 0.5% reduced damage from each nearby member. Each party member increased damage done. And the bonus is just very low, and the gem goes into C at best. If you want to get a lot of assist in PvP, then this gem is gonna be for you. But yeah, because you will be basically giving your teammates a buff, and because of that you will be getting assist in PvP. That is the only use of this gem that I have seen, and other than that, not that great. Then we have Cutthroat here. Again, 8% critical chance when attacking from behind. If you can actually do this, the gem is going to be really good. Deal 1% increased damage when attacking from behind. So again, if you can actually utilize this gem, then the Cutthroat can be pretty good, and I will be putting it in A, especially in gauntlet fights. If you can get behind the boss, it will be giving you decent critical buff in those fights. Moving forward, we have the lightning core. Your primary attack and movement slowly charge up your electricity. When fully charged, your next primary attack will release a lightning, and then after unleashing chain lightning, all damage you deal is increased. Again, not that great, and I will be putting the gem in C. Yeah, moving forward, we have the abiding curse, I believe so, and your attacks have a 15% chance to curse enemies, reducing their attack and movement speed by 35%, and cannot occur more often than every 20 seconds. Damage dealt to curse enemies increase. This gem is actually decent in my opinion, and I will be putting it in a B, and it could be better depending on how much card control you are trying to add on your build, so it could be better, but I will be adding it to the B. Yeah, moving forward, we have the I don't want to butcher the name right now. When you defeat an enemy, you trigger a volatile explosion, dealing at 30% base damage plus 365 to all nearby enemies. Can occur more often than every 6 seconds. Your damage is increased by 2% for 2 seconds after an explosion. A decent gem, a decent gem. I would be putting it in a B. I think it is a decent gem to start up with your build. And then we have Kir Sling. You have a 15% chance when attacked to release a burst of light that blind or nearby enemies, reducing their vision and causing total loss of control. And it cannot occur more than every 20 seconds. Deal increased damage to blinded enemies. Again, a decent gem if you're trying to max out your quad control. I will be putting the gem in the B tier. And moving forward, we have been Clasp. Again, really decent gem, especially if you can keep up the buff of this gem. Increase damage dealt by 8% to enemies suffering from continuous damage effect. And then when an enemy suffering from a continuous damage within 10 yards, your movement is increased by 0.5%. So this gem is going in the ST. Is still one of the best gems to get a lot of damage from 2-star gems. And moving forward, we have the Igneous Scorn, a decent gem. Your critical hit causes an explosion that deal 40% base damage to nearby enemies. These explosions cannot occur more than every 6 seconds. And after an explosion, damage is increased by 2.5% for 2 seconds. You can increase the duration of this buff by having more beneficial duration. And so, in my opinion, Igneous Scorn is still a pretty decent gem, and it goes in A tier. In my opinion, it is still going to be a decent gem to use, as it can trigger every 6 seconds and then gives you a damage buff. You can extend the duration of that by having more beneficial duration. And then we have the called Confidant, dealing damage, summon a pillar of ice at the enemy location with a life equal to 300% of maximum life. Each nearby enemies are chill, and dealt 15% base damage plus 344 each per second. The pillar persists for 6 seconds or destroyed, and then ice pillar life increase, so on and so forth. And I will be putting a gem in a C. At best, it isn't that great either for PvP or PvE. It gets destroyed in harder content in PvE, and PvP people just destroy it pretty easily unless you are a whale. And moving forward, we have a Mourneskull. This isn't a gem that you can get, but since it is in 2-star category, dealing damage goes the Spirit of the Lich King from within a Mourneskull to drain the soul nearby enemies, granting Royal Dominion for 6 seconds, increasing all damage you deal, and maximum effect can be increased if you harness the souls of 3 enemies close to you while Royal Dominion is active. Your attack will also unleash 2 Wild Spirit at nearby enemy, and that does an explosion, deal 3% base damage. That can be increased. The gem isn't available anymore. This was a limited time gem with a collaboration of World of Warcraft. If you are wondering why it isn't available anymore and you cannot get the gem anymore, but Mourneskull goes into S tier in my opinion. Moving forward, we have the Ironbane. Your channeling skill have a 10% chance to dissolve enemy armor for 6 seconds, increasing the damage they take 5% and cannot occur more than 20 seconds. The dissolve effect also reduce movement speed. This is somewhat a okay-ish gem if you trying to maybe use a wild wind, but I don't think it is better than C tier, at least in my opinion, and so that is where I will be putting the gem. Next, we have the Mother Lament. When you deal damage, you have 20% chance to gain the bonus and increase your critical hit chance. And then you will also be bleeding the enemy once the gem goes on the cooldown. So in my opinion, I think everyone agree that the gem goes in S tier. Moving forward, we have the Viper Bite. Again, a really good gem, damaging enemies, poison them with the Viper Venom, causing them to take 60% base damage plus 120 every second for 6 seconds. You can extend the duration of this gem onto the enemy if you have a lot of potency and harmful effects on your build, and it has 100% chance to trigger onto the enemy on first hit. Viper Venom also reduce the enemy attack speed, and I would say this gem is one of the best if you're trying to build up a damage over time build, and I would be placing it in A tier. The reason I'm placing it in A tier and not S, it is because it will not be giving you much of a damage buff, but the effects damage over time build is going to be insane. And moving forward, it is a tier of the Comet. Every second you maintain a challenging skill, you launch 2 Arcane Missile. Your challenging skill deal increased damage. One of the not that great gems, and I tested this a few times, and every time I tested the gem, it just felt really weak. Anyhow, moving forward, it is Mourneskull. Again, not a great gem. Taking damage, activate the gem for 6 seconds. It can only activate every 20 seconds. And you take a bit less damage, but you have to take damage in order for that. So it's just not that great. And I will be putting the gem in the D tier right there. And moving forward, it is none other than Mercy Harvest. This gem is a lot better than most people think, damaging enemies below 30% life. Summon a scythe wielding a Reaper, cleave through enemies, dealing damage, and it also gives you a damage buff. And good thing about this is you can basically keep this gem bonus up at all times in PvE, and the maximum damage buff at rank 10 you can get is 12%. So 12% damage increase at all time. It makes this gem pretty decent, and on the top of that, it will be doing some Reaper side damage as well. And so I will be putting the gem in the B tier. It is a pretty solid gem in terms of sustainable damage in PvE. And moving forward, we have a Specter Glass. I don't need to say all that much. One of the best gems out there if you have a lot of harmful effects on your build potency. This is going to be one of the best gems. It will shatter the enemy armor, basically giving you a damage buff against the enemies, and can trigger on every single enemy individually, and also gives you some critical hit chance against them. And so I will be putting the Specter Glass in the S tier right there. Moving forward, it is Crimson Ballad, another exclusive gem that was a part of collaboration. Has a lot happening on this gem. The description is long. It can give you a damage buff. It can stun enemies depending on if your life is above, below. You can get defensive buff or a offensive one, but a decent gem for PvE and PvP. And I have always said that, in my opinion, the gem is A tier. A lot of people were saying that it is S, but I will be putting the gem at A. And moving forward, it is Stubborn Oracle. When you are attacked, a divine shield forms before you for 6 seconds, increasing your block chance against enemies in front of you by 18%. And this is only enemies in front of you. And divine shield also reduces the duration of loss of control. I would say a decent gem if you are trying to build up some tankiness. And I will be putting the gem in the B tier. You know what? Yeah, I think I'll be putting a gem in the B tier. Moving forward, it is Manaflux. And this gem was a recent one. I did not end up liking it all that much because in PvP, basically the gem is for PvP. Players are moving really fast, and most of the time it doesn't even hit anyone. And you need to be less than 50% life to have the best effect out of this gem for PvP. That is going to be silenced onto the enemy, and then players can avoid that as well. And because of that, I never found this gem to be all that great, and so just put the gem in the C for now. And moving forward, we have a recent gem that just came out. When you take damage, you become warded for 6 seconds, reducing the damage you take from harmful continual damage effect by 14%. This can go up, and ward also increase the chance to block projectile. This is somewhat going to be in between. Again, if you're trying to max out all the defensive stats, then the gem can go in the B tier. Next, we have the Fervent Fang, another really good gem. This is a gem that you can only get from the Battle Pass, and so this goes into the S tier. And at the end, we are left with Grim Rhythm, another gem that you can only obtain from Battle Pass. I will be putting the gem in A tier. Can increase your attack speed, pretty decent if you are trying to stack up a lot of attack speed. Grim Rhythm, in my opinion, is going to be A tier. So there we go. This is how my tier list looks. Let me know in the comment section down below. How would you guys switch few gems around? I will be interested in looking at your feedback as well. But for now, I'm signing off. You guys take care, and I'll catch you all in the next one later.